Hello, my name is Vincent Faney. I am the author of Zen and the Art of Resistance Training, a yogic and scientific approach to weight training. Now, I began lifting, going on about 40-some years ago, about 42 years ago. And I started yoga 2 years prior to that. So, even though I was not a great athlete, I was always into climbing trees and going to the woods and hiking and practicing yoga and meditating and self-hypnosis and calisthenics, stuff like that. I did that all privately because I wasn't much of a team player. I was kind of a shy, bookish kid. And I got into lifting, wrestling first, and then weight training to help enhance my strength for weightlifting. And then I found that it also enhanced my speed and endurance and so forth and so on. Anyways, we're on chapter 12 right now, and again, every chapter I'm talking about, each of these film clips is just a thumbnail sketch, a summary of what each chapter talks about. So what you're seeing is just a summary, and everything I mentioned, there's a broader, deeper description of what I think would be important for you to read the book. But basically, what we're doing, chapter 12, I talk about the various types of fitnesses. The fitness profiles, how different sports and activities compare to a balanced fitness profile. And I think a balanced fitness profile comes from mainly a specific weightlifting regime that encompasses all the attributes that you can get from this. Now, obviously weightlifting can't replace Tai Chi, which is a combination self-defense. This is a mind-body exercise. Anyways, we have running, and there's two types of running. Sprints, long distance running. Sprinting uses the phosphagen system mainly, fast glycolysis depending how short. Football, they go 40 yards, they go a direction 10 yards, real quick sprint. Lateral sprinting, stuff like that. Long distance is more like, when you start conserving your energy and you try not to go into oxygen debt. No one can sprint, at least not yet. I hope one day it's possible. I don't like to think anything's impossible. But no one can sprint full out, full tilt, the way guys who run the 100 meters, 100-yard dash for several miles. It hasn't been done yet, to my knowledge. Anyways, we have sprinters, and we have long-distance runners. And in swimming we also have, basically, we basically the same thing. You have like swimmers who sprint in a pool or something like that for a certain distance, and so we have sprints and long distance. And the thing about swimming, running, the downside to running is you got to have a good pair of running shoes. Banging on you, over time can be hard on your knees and your joints. The resistance you're using is on your legs as your body. Your body's the only resistance in this the gravity on Earth. Of course, your upper body isn't getting the same resistance training as your legs are. It's kind of more of a one-dimensional sport. Targets the heart and lungs, and your leg muscles do get worked, and it's not a complete program. And there's also something I want to say. I got to look into it more. I read something about it, and I heard some friends talk about it who read more about the long distance stuff. These are long distance guys, and he said that the people who are chronic long distance athletes and people who run every day long distance or every other day, their mitochondria over time tend to be burned out, or 20 years aged 20 years prematurely. I want to look more into it. The jury is out on that in my mind because I haven't researched it personally. Now, I've done almost all these. Actually, I've done all these activities to a greater or lesser degree, to a greater or lesser degree of success. I did Tai Chi. I've done yoga prior to weightlifting and so forth. Before I ever started weightlifting, I've danced. I'm not like ballet or tap, but they used to do a lot of dancing, and dancing's a great sport. Tai Chi's a great sport. Tai Chi doesn't put you in oxygen debt. Great for flexibility, great for balance and relaxation, a lot of good mind-body medical health benefits. Problem is, most people, unless they get really good with watching a DVD, need to go to an instructor. There's a certain expense there. Swimming, is there a pool around? You got to have access to a pool. Running is good because you could run anywhere. So around certain tracks that have some of those new materials that take the compression and and pounding on your knees and joints and lower back and so forth. But a lot of people don't have access to those tracks, so they run on the highway and they got to worry about cars and they got to worry about carbon monoxide and all this other things and fumes. Sprinting, like I said, they got to find a pool. There's expenses, the pool fees. Tai Chi, yoga, you know, there's instructor fees and so forth. But you can do these on your own and dance and so forth. Tai Bo, great tape. Love Tai Bo. Love Billy Blanks. He's got a great tape, great thing. It puts you in oxygen debt. You can do it long term. You're using your own body as resistance in a sense when you're doing punching, you know, in the gravity. But it's only your body, and there's certain things that are lacking in it that you can only get through weightlifting. I'm sorry. Gymnastics, one of my favorite sports. I wish my school had a complete gymnastics program. I probably would have gone, if they had the gymnastics program, I would have gone into that more extensively like I did wrestling. And it's great for flexibility and agility and timing and balance, and it's just a wonderful sport. It uses your own body. Dan Millman, who I admire, was a great gymnast. He did quite well with this. Stretching is really it's not a sport. It's just a way of getting more flexibility, and there's some great benefits and potential dangers from stretching. Talk more about that in the book. Olympic lifting. I got a coach who's one of the top 5 coaches. He doesn't think powerlifting's a sport. He's very arrogant, and he has a right to be, because he was a silver medalist in the Pan Am Games way back in the 70s, and he was also, you know, one of the world's best. Won several American records. He thought powerlifting wasn't a sport because powerlifting didn't require the amount of speed in his mind, and a combination speed, balance, and dexterity and timing and all that other stuff. And I kind of disagree with him, but you know, hey, that's his business, and I see the benefits of training with Olympic lifting and powerlifting, the same techniques for each for the other. In fact, one of his students who actually got into weightlifting, he gave me the wonderful compliment years later when he became a successful Olympic lifter, and said he got into weight training because of, he said I inspired him when he was like 14, 15, 16. He was a tall, gawky, skinny little kid with narrow shoulders, and he grew up to be this 6'1", beautiful Adonis-looking guy with broad shoulders, little waist, very ripped, very fast sprinter, and he got up to 240 pounds and broke the American record, and he got like 400 some pounds in the clean and jerk. Now, he was getting chronic injuries, and he was training all the time, and he was getting chronic injuries, and his progress was getting just grindingly slow. So I gave him the advice that basically his Olympic lifting coach went against his lifting coach, his Olympic lifting coach, and I told him he needed a few more rest days, and he actually needed to do some heavy incline benching and some certain heavy bodybuilding exercises that would work on certain types of strength. And the combination of the rest days and what I gave him, he got to where his injuries went away, and he had his strength accelerated in an upward spiral again, and he broke the American record. Basic weightlifting is just like what you do just for tone and so forth. It's not really a sport. It's basically just a basic weightlifting could be just what you get from your Sears and Roebuck set. 2 sets of 10 of this, 2 sets of 10 of that, maybe from 2 to 6 sets per body part, and that's a great way to go. Well, now I want to talk about the different factors that you can manipulate as follows with weightlifting that will can give you the benefits that all these sports have, practically, almost, you know, except for, well, Tai Chi and yoga, of course. Well, actually, yoga, you use many techniques in yoga and weightlifting, and that's what I've done. Now, different factors you can manipulate are these: the number of repetitions you perform. A lot of lifters will arbitrarily pick 10 reps and kind of go down, but they don't understand to what extent that the number of reps, how it affects. Now look at all these individually, the number of sets you perform, the velocity you use, the tempo you use. What I mean by tempo is, you know, do you take a second to go up and 2 seconds to bring it down negative motion, you know, the cadence. The length of rest intervals between sets is huge on how it manipulates and stimulates your body, huge. The training volume, like per workout and per week. Some people like myself, we do an enormous amount of volume per workout, while other people do very little. Some people do too much volume per workout. Some people do too little. They undertrain, and that's individual due to genetics and/or how much have you getting used to volume. Now, I like to, before I go further, I like to say that a person, most people would benefit by increasing their ability to increase their training volume up to a point, not stay with high volume, but to a point, get to where they could just do as much volume as possible and still make gains. Of course, when you quit making gains, you need to prune back your volume. You got to do different things. The different types of training intensities you could exploit. There are different types of training intensities you can exploit. The total training workload, training duration, how long. Workload is just how much work you do in a workout. Training duration is what workload you squeeze in the time period of that workout. Like if I do, let's say, a factor of 100 in a training workload, that gives me a certain intensity. But if I do it in about an hour, if I squeeze that workload down into a half hour, obviously it's less rest between sets, and so there's a duration. Or I could shorten my duration by doing less volume and increasing the sets. And all these permutations are interrelated. The order of the exercises. Do I do benching first or incline first? Do I do my shoulder presses first or benching last? All that other stuff. Mind-body connection, how you integrate, how you focus, how you basically think, how you problem solve, the strategies that you made. The level of arousal, which comes into mind-body, is do you become, are you like amped up? Are you jacked up? Are you can you control your adrenaline to a bit? Can you be mentally aroused, awake, alert? And of course, there's levels of inhibition and disinhibition, things to think about. Recovery, how much rest you get between workouts. What do you do during the day to recover? All sorts of recovery methods. These are things, and these all interrelate. You could change. There's so many permutations of integrating all this that can affect the way you work out. Okay, I hope that's helpful. And we'll talk to you next time at Chapter 13.